Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with a Total War Warhammer video. Recently we've spoken about many laws of magic which are yet to be introduced into the Total War Warhammer series. And of course we can't have a video series like this without discussing the unique lore of magic for that of the Chaos Dwarfs, the Darwi-Zar. The Chaos Dwarves themselves are an interesting race of dwarfs, as they are able to use magic. Of course, prolonged use of said magic will eventually petrify them, but that doesn't stop them to use the winds of magic for their own nefarious deeds. Before we begin, there were in fact two different representations of this lore of magic. The most recent one was featured in the Tamukan Thrones of Chaos book, which is the one that we'll be going over. The previous representation of this lore of magic was in their 4th edition army book, and since we are aware that Creative Assembly prefer using more recent lore and source material, it makes sense to cover the supplement lore. So without further ado, let's begin. Just a quick heads up, in regards to the spells that will be shown on screen, the quality of the images aren't that good. This is the best quality that I can find online, as my book itself is still stuck in storage. But with all that being said, we have our first spell, Breath of Hatred. Breath of Hatred is an augment spell with a range of 12 inches. The target unit becomes subject to hatred while the spell is in effect. Of course, hatred is not represented in Total War Warhammer, so this spell will have to be changed around a little bit. It might be better yet served as a basic buff spell, where it could improve the melee capabilities of a chosen unit, with an overcast variant which would be able to use it as a area of effect. It's one of those basic spells, nothing too important but very well needed on the battlefield, especially as Chaos Dwarf melee will be very common, I am imagining. The second spell is Dark Subjugation. This is one that can't really be seen too well on the artwork. Dark Subjugation is a hex spell with a range of 24 inches. The target unit must pass a leadership test at -3 or suffer a permanent reduction of -1 to their leadership for the rest of the game. This is of course simple enough to translate. It's a spell which reduces leadership, a debuff which is already very common in the series. Of course, it won't be made into a permanent reduction, as that would be a tad overpowered. And as far as I'm aware, we currently don't have any spells which have a permanent reduction to anything. Next we'll move on to the third spell, Curse of Hashut. The Curse of Hashut is a direct damage spell with a range of 18 inches. It targets a single enemy model of the caster's choice, even a character. Again, simple enough to translate, this is very much like all other direct damage spells we have, so there's really not too much to discuss. Thankfully, most of these spells are pretty self-explanatory, which is in fact quite a benefit to this lore. It means that a lot of development time doesn't need to be placed in it. Next we have a rather interesting spell, Ashstorm. Ashstorm is a hex spell with a range of 24 inches. The target unit suffers -1 to hit in close combat and -2 to hit with shooting attacks until the start of the caster's next magic phase. In addition, the target unit may only use its basic move, and may not charge, march or fly. The unit also treats all terrain except impassable terrain as dangerous terrain while the spell's effects lasts. Wizards cannot cast magic spells except on themselves while under the effect of this hex. And finally, any unit under the effect of this spell is treated as being flammable. As you can see, this spell had a variety of effects, and it could very much be possible that we could see them all be implemented. Perhaps in the tier system with regards to Overcast, where the basic variant of the spell could slow down enemy units and reduce their melee and ranged accuracy. Melee accuracy itself would be in the form of melee attack. Overcasted, it would be a tad more powerful, but also maybe increase the miscast chance to enemy wizards. The last variant, which would have to be the most expensive, would be done in an area of effect, and also turn everything within that area into a flammable unit. Something like that seems possible. And yes, I am fully aware that this sounds a tad overpowered, but bear in mind that this is the Chaos Dwarfs that were implemented in 8th edition. They were a Forge World army and had a lot of stuff that made them quite strong. If it's the case that Creative Assembly used the 8th edition supplement as the main source of inspiration, they are going to be fairly powerful. Their artillery is going to be rather top notch, so one overpowered spell doesn't really change that much. The 5th spell is Hellhammer. Hellhammer is a direct damage spell. To determine what is hit, extend a straight line 3d6 within the caster's front arc and directly away from the enemy's base. Each model in the way must take an initiative test or suffer a strength 6 hit causing multiple wounds. Any units suffering casualties from this spell must immediately take a panic test. These direct damage spells are very much similar to that of magic missiles, so instead I would see it implemented in the form of a bombardment, doing damage in an AoE form, but also reducing the leadership of enemies that it does hit. I think something like that would work rather well, as most of the spells here follow the usual format, and currently the lore of Hashut has access to no bombardment spells. Lastly, we have the Flames of Asgore. Flames of Asgore is a direct damage spell which may be cast on any point on the table within the caster's line of sight. Place the small round template with the central hole on the target point. The template then scatters d6 inches. Hits from this spell are obviously counted as flaming attacks, and translating this spell is simple enough. This is obviously a vortex, and well, we've seen a vortex spell implemented in most lores. Vortex spells are extremely common, so it's expected that the lore of Hashut will also have one. As stated before, these are all the spells added into the 8th edition supplement. There are of course other spells which were added into the 4th edition army book for the Chaos Dwarfs. However, I honestly do believe that this is enough. They really don't need anything else, and in most cases we have around 4 spells anyway. Perhaps the summoning spell would also work well for the Chaos Dwarfs, but in reality it's not really that well needed. Magic will of course be a great benefit to the Darwizar, but your main force of damage is going to be your artillery. With all that being said, what do you guys think about these spells, and how would you see them implemented? Is there anything you would change? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.